very much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of this conference. I'm going to talk about usability testing, as you can see, but first let me tell you where I am. And there's somebody else in this room that's also from that place. I met him here today. I am from the most southern point of the African continent, and I live in Pretoria. It's about 50 kilometers from Johannesburg, because everybody knows where Johannesburg is in Cape Town, but nobody knows where is Pretoria. And I'm about 1,000 kilometers away from Cape Town. So I'm going to talk about usability. Whoops, I need to stand here, ne? Or can I take it off? Let me start by statistics. You know, measurements, metrics gives us pictures, and it tells us something, whether it's going good or bad, and so on. Now, first of all, 70% of online businesses fail due to bad usability. That is according to some statistics. 75%. Oh, thank you very much. 75%. Of people form their judgment of a website's credibility or organization's credibility by looking at the aesthetics, you know, the pleasant experience, the buttons, the colors, the look and feel, and so on. 48% of users are annoyed by bad mobile optimization. Are you happy with all the mobile apps that you are using? Do you also get frustrated? I get frustrated a lot. 80% of online shoppers do not return to a website when they have a bad user experience. It's so easy to get off this one app, get on the other app, go to a competitor, and continue with whatever you want to do, purchase or whatever. 53% of mobile site visitors leave a page if it does not respond within 3 seconds. I don't know if you are that impatient. I think I will wait at least 5 seconds, but maybe not longer than that. 55% of companies currently conduct user experience testing. Now, this is interesting for me, so I want to know from you, who of you has some form of usability testing that you conduct on your projects? Raise your hand. 3 hands, 4, 5, oh, okay, I see hands. Great, it's good to hear that. But I think it's not nearly enough testing that we are doing here. Now, this is my own experience. I've got 4 apps on my cell phone to buy online groceries. My favorite one is Woolies. So the other day I got into Woolies, I buy my groceries, select my bank card, and then it hangs, you know. And I got an error. I tried again, it didn't work, and what did I do? I closed the app and I went to 60/60. The frustration was that I had to reload all my items that I want to order, so it took me some time, but I could get my groceries very quickly. You know what? 60/60 is now my favorite app. Not Woolies Dash anymore. So Woolies lost my money, and 60/60 now Checkers will get my money. And that is how easy a company can lose business or win business. And I think not all companies realize the value of the user experience that they need to have. Now, I'm only going to talk about the tip of the iceberg here. When I saw I only have 30 minutes, I thought myself, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to do it. It's not enough time for me to say everything that I want. So I've got many slides where I've got a lot of links on my web pages. So you are more than welcome to take pictures and go, and I want to encourage you to go and do research further on this topic. Let us look at the future of usability testing. This was in 2021. In 2021, there were about 7 million mobile apps available, of which 143 billion downloads were done. the revenue of the app market is $430 billion US. Now, that is huge for me. And there's a growth of 8% as well. I think it needs more attention, usability testing then. You can see there on the right-hand side, there are some graphs linked back to the statistics. The top one indicates to us the quarterly downloads of these apps, but it seems to me as if COVID had an impact on the download. I do not understand that. I would expect it to be more, you know. If we look at the type of apps, you will see entertainment takes preference there. There's also medical, entertainment, and so on. And usability will get more advanced in future, like eye tracking, facial expression analysis, and biometrics, and so on. I heard this story, but I don't know if it's true. I think it is true. I heard the story of a man who was in a coma in a hospital, and he had his mobile phone in his room. And some of the staff in the hospital actually saw his phone, put it in front of his face, opened his app, and made some transactions from his banking app. So obviously, facial expressions facial recognition will have to specialize, like talking about blinking of eyes and all other kind of things that you will have to do to mitigate this kind of problem. Now, what do we consider as a usable software product? So it starts with design. We need to know what are the requirements of the users, and then we build the system around it. We don't test usability into a product. We design it and we build it into our products. Obviously, easy to use, learnability, user satisfaction, error prevention, efficiency, and memorability. Those are the characteristics that we need to address when we want to build usable products. Now, if we have it in our products, then obviously the users will be able to easily do tasks, the learnability, they will be able to do it quickly, the efficiency, re-establish proficiency after a period of not using the product, the memorability there, obviously prevention of errors, and then the satisfaction that we want to have. We want a wow factor for our customers, you know. I actually read the other day something where they say it's not the business that give like permission for the users to use their products. It's the customers that select and decide which products they want to use. So it's actually the other way around. And we need to keep that in mind. What is the benefit of usability testing? Now, obviously, if we do reviews on early prototypes and so on, you will get early feedback on your design problems and you can fix it quickly. You do the testing with actual users, actually. Better understanding of your user needs. You can identify these problems and it can improve the overall user experience. So the value that we get, obviously, is to meet the user needs. And the internal return on investment is, obviously, we will have lesser user errors because we focus on that. That is one of the criteria that we want to look at. Because of lesser errors, we save a lot of money because of early identification of these problems and then lesser user support as well. And then we reduce the risk of having projects that fail because of bad usability. The external return on investment, because the customers are more happy, we focus on customer satisfaction, we will generate more loyal customers and we can have higher sales. For me, it makes sense to add value to usability testing only for that point on its own. Reduce customer support costs, and if we improve the user experience and we increase the customer satisfaction, we will have loyal customers. They will keep on doing business with us, and that is what we want. That is very important, and we must not overlook that. Now, there are basically three concepts of usability testing. First of all, usability itself is where the user directly interacts with the user interface. User experience covers usability, but it also covers the services before and after the interaction there. And then accessibility. Accessibility is very close to my heart because I've worked with a lot of testing for people that's blind, children with disabilities, and I saw there the value of that. I don't have it in my slides, but if you really like reading, go and search for Ghost Boy. You will find a book about Martin Pistorius. I met him on one of these projects and how his life was affected by his disabilities and how he overcame all of that. He was part of our IT team there. Now you will see that if we look at the definitions of these different aspects here, usability is the extent to which software a product can be used by specified users. So you need to understand your users. You can build personas for them, and you need to know what goals do they need to achieve, or the specified goals in a specific context of use. In what situation are they going to use it? I actually thought about this on my way here on the plane. I had a cup of coffee in my one arm and I tried to do something with my hand. So I was temporarily disabled, trying to work on my phone with my one hand, and I spilled the coffee over my clothes, you know. I don't know if we think of designing those kind of things, or a mother having a child in her arms, that kind of thing. Then if we look at the user experience, that is more the perception and the responses of the users by using the product, and what is their opinion about the product. And then accessibility, the degree to which a product or system can be used by people with the widest range of characteristics and capabilities. Can they see? Can they hear? Can they use their hands? Can they walk? Those kind of things. How can they interact with software products and even with hardware then, actually? Now, usability testing can be applied to all of those to evaluate it. All right? So this is where I get to my tools in my workbox. So when I was involved on my first usability project, that was at the bank in the early 2000s, in Sandton in Johannesburg, and I was very impressed. They had this usability lab and we could do usability testing there and everything. As I said, the closest to me was at the CSIR in Pretoria, where we work on the National Accessibility Portal project. And at that point of time, I was a test manager. I didn't know anything about usability, but I had the designers that did a lot of research on usability, but I didn't know how to implement it. And that is what I want to tell you. If you want to motivate usability testing, if you see the value of that, how can we do that? Obviously, there are other factors as well, like management support, which is very important, and so on. Now, this workbox app obviously is more for your manual testers or test leads, test managers, and needs to guide a team. And there are other aspects that you need to think of, like the testing methods, like your qualitative and quantitative testing. I'm not going to talk about that. I just mentioned it to you because I want it to be a teaser for you. I want you to become curious about usability testing. It's not rocket science. It's easy. And it can add so much value to our companies if we have this usability implemented. The bottom line is we need to have a user-centered design. We need to think about from the user side. Now for me, when I started, I went to Google. Google is my best friend. And I started to Google about usability and everything. And I then discovered Jacob Nielsen. He was my big guru in the early 2000s. And I could read these websites. There's so many information. I actually printed all the documents and I built a file for me, a book on usability that really guided me and my team. Now, that was one of his first books that he published there. These books are all available on Amazon as well. You can go buy it there. And another person is Steve Kruger. He wrote these two books, Don't Make Me Think and Rocket Surgery Made Easy. There's a lot of information in there that you can go and read. I've got some of these books at my bedside. I read it to fall asleep sometime, you know. You learn so much from them. I found this interesting book, Usability Testing of Medical Devices, for instance. And then the book with a yellow cover. I have that book on my bookshelf. At that point of time, I decided to further my studies in usability testing, and that was one of the books that they gave us as part of the study material that we had to study and so on. So as you can see, point number 1, books, literature, conferences, papers. There's a lot of information. No reason not to go and read up more on usability. The second point is for me international standards. Now what is an international standard? There are very intelligent, clever, very well experienced people out there. The SMEs, they know problems, they identified patterns, they define these standards. Don't reinvent the wheel. I always say life is too short to reinvent the wheel. Let us learn from these standards. Now one of my favorite standards is ISO 25010. You can use this standard on all your projects. I use it for planning my testing, scoping my testing, doing risk assessments. You can design your tests around that. So obviously you can see we only have the functional category here on the left-hand side. Categories are all non-functional test types, what the system has to do. And there we've got our lovely usability category as well. And there are some characteristics that tells us what to focus on. As you can see, appropriateness, recognizability. How well can you recognize if a product is appropriate for your needs? Learnability, I've mentioned that. Operability, how easy it is to operate and control the product. Error prevention or protection. Your aesthetics, and then obviously your accessibility as well. Now, you can go to the ISO websites. These standards are available there. You can go purchase them. The next one is ergonomics of human-system interaction. It tells us more about 7 dialogue principles. Again, some of those topics are repeated, like error tolerance. We also have suitability for individualization, controllability, suitability for learning, and you can see the other 3 topics there as well. It's a lot of information that we can go and look for and read up on. Yeah? You can build your own book around usability by only looking at all this information. Human-centered design for interactive systems. You can see ISO 9241-210. You will see that we start by interviewing representative users. Based on understanding the users, we identify the user requirements, and based on that, we build the product. And then we come into play when we do the evaluation of those and see if it meets the user requirements. If not, we go into different iterations and keep on doing that until we improve and meet the user requirements. And that will ensure that we will build user-friendly, usable products. ISO 9241-171, accessibility standards. You will see that this is also a lot of information. There are 140 guidelines. This is just one example of screen readers, that is assistive technology for blind people, how they will be able to interact with the software. And then they give some guidelines and they tell us how to build this product. ISO 25066, now this is a direct copy from this website, the ISO website, and you will see this standard provides us with a template for reporting. Obviously we need to report, right? We need to communicate. Reporting is very important. That is selling what we are doing. And you will see there are 4 components. You get the context of use, your derived requirements, design solutions, and in this section here, the evaluation component, you will see there we've got the CIF report there and the evaluation report. So they even give us templates on how to report and communicate on our findings. So that was the books or literature and standards. Now we're going to look at point number 3, the guidelines. There's also a lot of guidelines available, also for our developers. W3C consortium Again, there's the link there at the bottom. There's a lot of information there. And at the time when I was working on this accessibility project, we used a lot of that accessibility. It gives guidelines, like for instance, when you put images on your web pages, you need to explain in the hidden tag, for instance, what is this picture all about? Because that is what a text reader will read for the blind person. Otherwise, it will read in the name of the file. You know, that for me, that was my worst test session, was when I did my first testing with the blind people on this software. The navigation was a disaster. I could not complete one task. It was really bad. So we threw away the actual solution. We took the knowledge, appointed Willem, who was blind, and we started from scratch, and then it became a success story for us. So you can see then the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines is also part of W3C. Also give very informative on how to build software that is accessible and so on. It actually provides 3 tiers, and the first level, number A, is where they address a broad group of users. They say the best approach is to go for the middle level, the AA. You will see the AAA is when they focus on a specific user group with specific capabilities and so on. Apple obviously have also guidelines available, and then we have Android. I just show you screenshots actually from the actual website. I just want to show you how much information is there available that you can make use of. Android manufacturer guideline, this is an example where they explain how to build left to right and right to left screens to keep it consistent for everybody, and it takes in consideration what users want, how they interact with products and so on. Microsoft obviously also have user guidelines, and then SAP also have a huge amount of information available on their website. There's really a lot, and I like their graphics as well. It's very pleasant for me to look at them. So you can see there's a lot of guidelines as well. So it's books, standards, guidelines, and there are legal aspects as well. I'm going to show you 2 categories, 2 types of acts. You can see there we've got the UK Equality Act, and it actually protects people with disabilities against discrimination in the workplace and also in society. I remember at that time when I was working at the CSIR, we got an email from a public member that wanted to submit his taxes to SARS. And at that point of time, he was blind and he could not submit it. He was not able to submit it online because his text reader could not read. He could not complete the task. He could actually take SARS to court, actually. Some countries are open for these kind of things. So it's actually important that we know about this and know your laws around when you build applications, and make sure that you're compliant to that. We also have the American with Disability Act, and they also focus on the accessibility of website for visually impaired users there, and there's a lot of information in these acts that we need to be familiar with when we build our products. So that was the law, the legal aspects. Now, number 5, this will be a benefit. Now, in my journey, when I got involved with usability, I had my experts, the designers, we had specialists in doing research. We also did some research on behavior for old people. That was very interesting. You know, you need to build for them big buttons and big text because they cannot see, you know, they need glasses and everything. Ideally, you want to have an expert on your team. Now, if you go and look at job advertisements and so on, you'll see there are different names, but they all are considered as usability experts. You get, for instance, a usability engineer, an analyst, a consultant, designer. Obviously, they will all have their own job specs. It might differ slightly, but the bottom line is they focus on the human experience, user experience, usability, and so on. I'm not going to go through all of those. You can go find some jobs in usability. Look up on that. So that is to get the expert on the team. But then develop yourself. I've done this exam end of last year. So I'm a certified usability tester. I'm proud of that. So the ice sticker bit, you can see this morning when our president did his presentation, he showed us the profile there, and we also have the usability testing syllabus and certification there. So all the resources are available on the website. You can download it. The syllabus is available, the glossary. There's a mock exam. They even explain to you the exam structure and everything. And if you go search, you can find training providers as well, and you can write your exam on that as well. So you can develop yourself as a usability expert. And then number 7, for me, it is very important that we have templates for the work products that we are creating. We don't want everybody to create their own, and you can store it somewhere at a central repository. This is a best practice to have. And if we look at our documentation, you will see that these are the basic documents that we will create during our usability testing that we do. You will have a usability text plan, usability report, recording consent forms, where you get a consent form with test participants that you can record them from, for instance, test scripts, and then the test tasks that you want the test participants to execute. And that brings me then to point number 8. But for me, this is the last one, but the most important one. I always say testing is invisible. Doesn't matter what type of testing you do. How do we make it visible? With the reports, with the results, with the communication that we are doing. And that is a professional service that we need to provide, and that can build the reputation of the testing team. So for me, we also, as a tester, can sell their usability by having proper reports and everything there. Now, there's a lot of psychology in testing as well. Sometimes we can get resistance, and you might get resistance on usability defects as well. The developer might think you criticize him and that kind of thing. But the good news is usability is unique in the way how we log defects, because we also log positive findings. And we highlight recommendations from the test participants. If a user say, you know what, I think this and this and this idea can work, we put it in the report. So that is the difference from normal defect logging that we are doing, where we say this is wrong and that is wrong and this is wrong. So we add some positive stuff, and that can sell the usability as well, because we're not only doing wrong things, we're doing good things as well. Just like any other defect, we categorize the severities in minor, major, critical, and we can explain exactly what we mean with that. And obviously, we want to find usability problems. You will log it in your report, but by default, you can maybe find functional problems as well. You will log it. Obviously, we would like to address those as well. And then we have the positive findings as well as the good ideas that we can consider to build into our products as well. Now, this is a formula that tells me everything. If you look at how they calculate it, is to calculate the loyalty of customers. And you will see that they use the number of unique visitors that will visit your site. How many visitors do you get? 10, 1,000, 10,000, a million, you know. The conversion rate, all those visitors, how many of them become customers? If they come to your site and they leave, you might say to yourself, I see a red flickering light, there's something wrong. Okay? How can we convert them to become customers? And then our loyalty rate. How many customers will repeatedly do business with me? Like 60-60 that have me now as a loyal customer. And Willy's Dash lost me as a customer there. And that will, for me, I think this is also a very important formula that we maybe can use to sell usability. to say this is the value and that is how we can improve. And at the end of the day, it's about the revenue that we can, the sales that we can get from our services. And that brings me then to the end. So to summarize everything, there are 4 examples of information that you can use as a test basis to guide you on what to test, what tasks you want to cover. It is your literature, your books, your standards, legislation, and your guidelines. And then your resources, you need your people. You have your user, ideally you want to have your usability expert and become usability tester certified as well. Your testware, there's templates that you can create, and then become the usability advocate and make sure you give good quality reporting on that. And that for me can be a success story to sell and let other people and team members see the value. And one of my colleagues like to say, make them want you to be on the team. So you must give such a way of reporting and everything that you build that reputation, and they would not want to make a decision if they don't have your input. And I love to challenge testers on that and say, make them want you to be part of the team. All right, and that is the end of my story. Thank you very much.